right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to everyone who's attending our live stream today. The title is How to Use AI to Land Your Dream Job Faster, and how expert or top career coaches are helping their clients use AI to do this. So, I want to welcome you here. If you've been applying, updating, optimizing your information, and still not getting traction, and you feel like maybe something could be wrong, something that could be helpful is, using AI. AI is not here to replace humans, it's replacing guesswork. So when we combine AI tools with expert strategy, personalized career guidance, you don't just apply, you don't just apply faster, you rise faster. So today we're pulling back the curtain on how we use AI, or some of us use AI, some of us still are not totally into AI, but we're going to tell you the reasons why and how it's helping us to move faster and make smarter decisions and just be able to present things in a way that can really up our game a little bit. So we're going to be talking about how to use AI to personalize our applications without losing your voice, because you don't want to sound like a robot. Um, why job seekers who rely on AI are getting ghosted because they're using AI to the extent that they are not coming across as human beings, and how to turn AI into a strategic advantage, whether you're pivoting, up leveling, or re-entering the market. So this is about making your career move intentional, empowered, and aligned with your values. So if this is what you wanted to learn today, you're in the right place. So let's dive in. But first of all, let me introduce my co-presenters here today. First up is Sophia Edwards. Sophia is an executive career coach, certified HR professional, and a LinkedIn early adopter who has coached thousands of professionals, helping many of them position themselves as VPs and in executive roles. Also with us is Edward Lawrence. Ed is a powerhouse in coaching and creating best-in-class branding documents. And Ed is also a grader judge for the CPRW certification. He's also a great judge. He knows branding documents, and he knows exactly what it takes to make a higher decision maker notice you with the documents that you present. And we've got Linda Greenfield, a career coach who is a LinkedIn strategist and AI aficionado, an early adopter of AI who has spent years helping high achieving professionals land the roles they deserve. And then myself, with over 20 years experience in marketing, personal branding, career and business coaching, with the distinct purpose of helping women elevate themselves into leadership positions. So together, we're going to try and cover as many angles as we can about the AI topic, which can be very controversial. But we'll start off by answering a few questions. So one of the questions that comes up is about how to help our clients avoid resume sludge. This was this is a term that was in a New York Times article not too long ago, because hiring managers are receiving hundreds and hundreds of resumes, many more than they used to receive for a single job, and all of them sound the same. And so we want to be able to avoid that trap. So how do we get out of this, and so we're not sounding generic and robotic? So I call on let's call on Sophia to answer that question from her perspective.
I think one of the most important things is to make sure you start with your own unique story, and that you use AI as a drafting partner, not the final editor. Super important that you not take in total what comes out of AI and put it in your application or your resume, because employers do that. repetitive materials, and it's a big turnoff for them.
Yes, I agree. Linda, what say you?
Absolutely agree with that. I think it's great in terms of using it to finesse a bullet point, to give you ideas for summary sections. And I like putting the same prompt into multiple AI tools and see what I get. And I might take a phrase from here, a phrase from there, and put things together that really sound good. The other thing to avoid, there have been some studies on these words that AI keeps using, and recruiters are now starting to recognize. Some of them, delve, it's just not something that's used quite often by people just talking. Realm, intricate, showcasing, pivotal, underscore, comprehensive, crucial, ensuring, da 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 da, ensuring, da 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 da. So a lot of the bullet points would be in that same format, da 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 da, ensuring, and it does get repetitive, and it looks like it was written, by AI, and ultimately it needs to be attractive to a person reading it.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, recently, what I found is that when I ask my clients to send me a current resume, they'll send me one that they've produced entirely in AI, and it will have for a lot of those words that you mentioned are in the summary at the top. Um, and then the highlights will be all circled, like it's been, each highlight is circled separately. And then inside of the work experience, there'll be words that are bolded, phrases bolded, and so on, all throughout the document. And those are usually clues that was entirely generated by AI. What do you think about it? With about this, Ed, when you get some of these resumes from your clients, and when you're seeing things generated by AI?
So a lot of people know by now how I have a slide in my presentation on cover letters, which I created when I was looking for a bad cover letter, a good bad cover letter to use that AI produced. And I said, what am I going to search for? Oh, I am excited to apply for. And my Windows computer filled the whole screen with entries that I've stored on the computer, all these letters beginning with I'm excited to apply for, highlighted in yellow. And I just said to myself, I don't need one letter. I've got 50 here or whatever. And I took a screenshot and used that as the slide. Yeah. So there's an example, more cover letters than resumes. But I'll agree with what was said
cover letter sludge.
Yeah. Don't use it for your, final editing, because, in my experiments, it will take an initial draft and expand it by a factor of maybe 3. Put in the words like delve, as Linda said, and some other things that people normally don't use. But also, I'll say, don't let it be your initial creator. A lot of people will, give it. Now I guess there's verbal AI, so you can talk and chat, and it'll take your description, what you've done. And so I like to use it when I use it myself. Exactly is when I'm stuck. Oh my gosh, the way this bullet is, I keep winding up with a dangling participle. I shot an elephant in my pajamas for this high-tech company. How it got in my pajamas, I'll never know. So the little grammatical things that you just have trouble expressing, I like to use it there. And the 2 areas that I'll mention, maybe out of turn, but where I think AI excels, especially for job seekers, will be research and ideas to research. And I'm going to give you one last thing here. I had recently had a library client, a young man, pretty good resume. And I read it and I said, given I knew his demographic background, which includes economics, and I was saying, I have a feeling this person didn't reach the level of education that I see out of this resume. So I said, did you write this yourself? He said, no, AI. And I go, wow, this is one of the best AI resumes I've seen. And he said, I've learned how to ask proper prompts. I've learned how to work with it. And I said, great job. And then I asked, wow, I love this bullet here. Did you really do that? And guess what he answered?
No.
No. Okay, did you do this other stuff? No. Did you do this other stuff? No. Why is it here? Well, the AI wrote it. So again, we get back to, you can write a very nice resume with proper prompts and everything, but you got to tell the truth.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, that's a good one, Ed. Well, so we've talked a little bit about how to help avoid the resume sludge and the cover letter sludge and any other things that would make you show up like a robot or on it, the wrong information in there. So, from the audience, I'm wondering, do you have, how do you use AI? How are you using AI, and how are you finding it helping you? So feel free to put in a question, and we'll see it come up in the comments if you do. And in the meantime, we'll just ask another question, or maybe I'll wait. I'll wait a few seconds to see if you have some comments, because we'd really like to hear what you have to say, so we're answering the questions that you have. Okay, well, maybe you'll have some thoughts as we move along here. So, maybe a question that would be good to consider. What you've already touched on some of this, Ed. What's the biggest mistake you see job seekers make when using AI tools on their own? Sophia, do you have some thoughts on that?
I think what Ed highlighted is very important. I think what also is important is using language that's authentic to them, because you can use AI to craft a resume bullet, to craft a cover letter, but if it doesn't sound like words that you use, that's a huge problem. And I think one of the ways to avoid that is to get human feedback from your career coach or a colleague or a peer, someone who understands what you're really about, so that you make sure it sounds not just authentic, but legitimate, accurate. Not reviewing the output carefully can lead to not just hallucinations about achievements, but also a mismatch between what employers are looking for and what you offer.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I've discovered to help to make sure that you're aligned properly with what the employer is asking for is to put the job description into the AI, and then also put a sanitized resume into AI, and have the AI answer the question of what's required in this job that's a good match within the resume to that I should be highlighting. So maybe just focus on the top 3 things that are really important in this job description, that we're seeing a good match in this resume, and so we want to highlight and bring that to the top to make sure that it's really noticed. You know what I mean by that? Does that make sense? I'm not sure if I'm making sense for you.
Well, it's what I was mentioning earlier, Faith, where you say, ask AI, what do you think the top competencies are or requirements? And then how does this resume align with that? What are the gaps?
Right.
Again, you can't just take what it says. You have to review the output. but it can give you a head start.
Absolutely. Linda?
I agree with everything. And I think it's great for taking a very long job description and categorizing because, sometimes they have multiple things in different sections and just bringing it together into the different categories of what would make someone successful in that job so you can be sure to answer those and to highlight your responses to showcase how you're the best person to do all of those things. And some job descriptions are, 6 sentences and some are 4 pages. So it's, the ones that are very long, it's great for categorizing. And for the ones that are really short, you can ask for similar job descriptions for this job title to get some ideas of what really is required to do that. So in terms of making some assumptions. And in terms of the hallucinating, I've seen AI take a statistic and misplace a decimal point. So you really do have to look very, very carefully to make sure that everything is right. So I agree, it's great to use, but not as your final editor. I love it when I'm writing a resume and I've got 1 or 2 words that are going on to a second line. And there's a way to shorten it so it's nice on one line, and it's really good for that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like it for that too. Ed, your thoughts?
Not much really, I think, to add. I'm in alignment with everybody.
We agree.
And again, it's sort of like, do a little metaphor because I picked up my bike today at the bike shop. I'm not ready for an e-bike. And to me, AI, people using it, as was said earlier, to make your life easier and to do some things for you. And why do people get e-bikes? Hey, go up hills faster. Generally go easier. But, my feeling is when it comes to tools like e-bikes and AI, once you do it, you got to be careful. It's sort of going to be like, I don't know, is addiction too strong a word? I fear that some people might say, hey, that was easy, and then they'll just keep doing it. And if it's too easy after a while and you rely on it, you may forget everything that Linda and Sophia were saying earlier about, hey, you got to watch this thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. It does make mistakes.
Let me add on to that. There was a study about people using AI for research, and the ones that used it and the ones that didn't, there was a difference in the understanding of what they were doing between the ones that were doing AI and the ones that were really compiling things and reading it and doing it on their own. So, it's when you think about what's the reason you're doing it and what's the outcome you're looking for, you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm. Again, let me invite you, if you have a question from the audience, please put it in the chat and let's consider your question. We'd love to answer your questions. Which AI tools would you recommend for job seekers, my friends? What would you say? What are you using and what would you recommend? Sophia?
Of course, I use JobScan. I like my interview practice. It's an AI-powered interview practice tool. I think that there are some others that allow you to store your resumes, like Job Copilot. And stepping aside from AI, I think something we talked about before the call started was having people take coursework to up their own AI expertise, because it helps them be more competitive in the marketplace.
Yes. What I was talking about earlier before we got on, that Sophia's referring to, is there's a one program that I recommend to most of my clients if they're not really up on AI it's called AI for Everyone, and it's a free course from Coursera.org, and it's about a 6-week course. You can do it in less time, and you can do it with take longer because you go at your own speed. But it gives you an overview of how AI can be used personally and also within an organization, small or large organization, and how if you're in a leadership position, you really should be understanding how AI impacts whatever job you're doing or whatever team or department you're in, and be able to do some research work to see what AI programs would be good for your department. It's just really good to have that kind of information in your pocket when you go into an interview, because it's moving so fast. 6 months ago, it's totally different from the way we are now. And if you've been out of a job for 3 to 6 months and you're not up on what's happening within organizations with AI, then you can't have a good conversation in an interview. And you don't need to be an expert, but just to be able to say that you understand what's happening and are keeping in yourself really apprised of where things are going. Linda, what were your thoughts?
So I like putting the same prompt into multiple tools, like I mentioned. So Perplexity, I really like because it provides links. I tend to go to ChatGPT for writing ability, but I do put the same prompt, particularly for idea generation, into all of them, into Claude as well, and Gemini and Meta and Copilot, and see what comes up. So, I'll put in a lot of information that's, of course, sanitized, not identifiable, if I'm looking for, ideas for future positions, and see what comes up. So it's great that there are so many tools. There'll always be answers that'll be the same, but I always find that I get something different from each of them.
Mm-hmm. Ed?
So I'm the one in the group who doesn't use it, I think, as often day to day as everybody else does. Like I said, I treat it like the e-bike, not actively resisting, but I'm trying to go for the more human, authentic touch. And I want people's resumes or their interview answers to be, authentically true for themselves, not based on AI. Just think of the top of resumes that you see these days where, I am a driven, passionate, results-driven, collaborative team player, and
Successfully.
the more people do that. But I have used Claude quite a bit, in part because it's marketed as an ethical AI. I find I'm actually digging more into the new Google search, which is AI assisted, and they give you the AI summary at the top. I like that. Udly is something I've played with because I met the product manager from Udly at one of the conferences. So again, it's not that I'm what were
And
the people?
Udly is the interview program, right? Is it?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
the interview prep program.
Yeah. So again, that goes back to what I said before about it's really great for research and giving you ideas to research, because what I think I need to get better at is the prompts. I have a feeling Linda's way ahead of me on that. Playing with the prompts and coming up with inventive ideas for what it is that I want to investigate and write with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of the prompts that I use for interviewing, once they've gone through the process of applying and setting up interviews is to ask AI which questions are likely to be asked about this particular position, and then you can have some really good questions that you can um, prepare with, and also even asking, what question should I be asking during the interview process. So those are things you're going to probably think about eventually if you think long enough about it. But if you ask AI, it gives you some help so that you can move faster and get some more ideas that you probably may not have pulled out. And Sophia, you mentioned something else that I thought was really interesting that you do with Perplexity, is to, when people are trying to figure out which jobs they should be applying for.
I will put the non-identifiable component of the resume, so everything but the header that has your email and whatnot, into Perplexity and ask what are good target organizations for this person.
Yeah, that's
what are good target roles, based on this person's background, what kind of jobs should they be looking for, and then what companies.
Yeah, so we're almost 30 minutes in. We've just touched the tip of the iceberg with regard to AI so far. I'm really interested in your questions also, if you want to put some in so that we can address specifically the situations that you're dealing with. We're going to go for about another 10 minutes, but we'd really love to talk about what's on your mind. So let us know. I think the question that you just addressed there, Sophia, I had a question about how do you help clients decide which job opportunities to pursue? And that's how you do it with Perplexity, is that if people are having questions about, okay, what do I go for now based on, and it can also widen your scope of what you can apply for, because you might not have even thought about those jobs, right? That you would be related, that you can, what you've experienced, what you've learned, what you've studied could be aligned with jobs that you haven't even thought about.
I've also asked, what professional development opportunities should this person pursue to make themselves more competitive?
Yeah, that's a good one. Very good one. So how do you see AI changing the job search process in the next 1 to 3 years? Anyone can start with that one.
I think it has been moving so fast that by the time we come up with an answer, it's going to already have evolved beyond what we're thinking about.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed too at the rate of progression. I listened into a talk with Salesforce CEO, and he was Benioff, and he was saying just how quickly things have progressed because it's all open source. And before, when there was new technology, it was everyone developing things independently, and that's one of the reasons that things have just skyrocketed and moving so quickly. So I agree with Sophia that things are changing so fast, and things that were an issue, a few months ago with some of the tools have already been modified and changed, like, putting links in, or, doing more checking, and having different models for deep research. So it's a really interesting question that I don't know. We will see.
Yeah, it's a wide open question. Do you have some thoughts on that, Ed?
Oh, of course. So what popped into my mind as you asked that question were the two words, unintended consequences. So why have companies embraced AI? Well, the same reason they hire people, make their lives easier, right? So they figure they can get on with other work. And what has happened? So apparently job seekers now are using AI more than ever. And there are websites that say, you know, for a price, Sophia, for a price, Faith, we'll shoot your resume along with a cover letter out to 100 employers a day. And now what's happening? The employers are being, from what I hear, inundated, and everything's crawling to a halt. Allegedly, a few companies had to stop hiring, not because of being overwhelmed with applications, but here's another thing. Some companies said, we'll let the AI choose the top candidates. And some months ago, I put up on LinkedIn an article about this with a picture of Robot Santa from the TV show Futurama. Robot Santa was an AI Santa Claus who would judge whether children or people were naughty or nice. And it decided everyone was naughty, and it tried to kill everybody.
Nice.
No, and apparently there are companies this has happened. No one, zero, allegedly have qualified for a role. You know, so again, the unintended consequences. And somebody posted online, I forget if it was Facebook or LinkedIn, a company in the Netherlands had, as part of the application process online, a statement that you had to attest that you did not use any software. So Sophia, you see the big nod, you've seen it, you know, any outside and any outside help of any type. And my comment on the article was, wait a minute, the way I read this, you can't use a resume writer, you know, to help improve your resume.
Yeah.
So we got to be careful. Yeah, you're right. It's moving so fast. I really wish they could slow down a bit and just, you know, well, let's sort things out for a few weeks. But no, it'll keep going.
That's for sure. Unintended consequences.
Two things to add in with that. You know, there's my favorite one of these resume generators that apply for all of these positions is called Lazy Apply, and that just says it all. You know, that just, to me, if you're using Lazy Apply, and that more and more that companies are cutting off after they've received so many resumes, where it's more important to apply quickly, because after they're just getting so many that they're just cutting it off at a certain point. So that's one of the consequences of that too. And there have been companies that put in the job description things like, you know, put one sentence in caps, so we know this wasn't generated by AI. So it's giving you some sort of, you know, little instructions in there to do something, so they know it's not an AI thing, where it'll say, you know, as a part of that, you know, not in the job description, it'll have in there just to make sure that it's, you know, not just copied and paste from AI.
Yeah. We were talking about job letting your authentic voice shine through as well too, and sounding authentic. And one of the things that you can do with I know you can do it with chat. I'm not sure about Claude because I don't use Claude. Is to upload things that you've written, emails or blog posts or content. Upload that into the AI and have it teach it how you sound. And so when you ask ChatGPT to respond, to write something for you, say you're wanting to formulate a story that you're going to put into your resume, then you ask it to write it in your voice. You give it the details and ask it to write it in your voice, and then it will do that. Of course, you still have to edit it once it's been produced, but it's going to sound more like you because the AI has been trained on your voice. It can do that. Any further thoughts, Sophia?
No, I don't think so. I think the most important thing that I've heard us use this word authentic several times in the 30 minutes that we've been on here. And I think just remember, it's an aid. It's not a replacement.
Yes. And yeah, so really the resume and the cover letter shouldn't be the things that are the most important things that you're using to find a job. They're very important, but who you are meeting with people, and when it comes down to it, is it's another person who you're dealing with who's going to offer you the job. So you have to be making the connections on a person to person basis and not an AI to person. Or some from what Ed's saying, it sounds like it's AI to AI now. Because
there have been scams like that that found out that the job seekers were actually AIs. That got a few companies really upset.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a wild world out there. Any questions from the audience that you'd like to put forward before we end off today?
Quiet group.
Quiet group. So I think what I'm hearing in conclusion from everyone is that what AI is a tool. That's what we want to take away. AI is a tool. It can be a force multiplier, but it needs to be used with discretion, with strategy, with the clarity, and with the intention of helping you to show. Let's use that word, showcase. One thing I know, you want to stay away from the M dashes. People seem to be really up in arms about M dashes. I really don't like M dashes myself, and I used to use them. Apparently, they're an AI thing. So to bridge the gap, what's necessary and to get to what's possible for you and the best results is to use AI as a tool and use someone who you trust, who's really good at helping you to figure out what it is you're looking for and to put things in your own words and to have them review it for you. Work with a coach if you can, because that's what the coach is trained to do, help you to be able to get the best possible results from your career search out there. And if there's some insights that we were able to share with you today, please use them. If you've gotten some results from or something that you've learned from here that you didn't know before, please feel free to share this link with your friends or a friend who might be able to need to use it. And each of us are available for conversation. If you want to have a call with us, if you go to LinkedIn, you can book a strategy call or DM us and let us know that you'd have a question that you'd like to have answered. And one thing we know for sure, dreams jobs are not just found. You get to claim them. But you have to look for them, search for them, and be intentional about what you want, and then use AI to help you to get there. So we thank you for being here today, and look forward to seeing you again in another one of our live streams where we're helping you to land the job of your dreams. Thank you, Sophia, Linda, and Ed.
Thank you all. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.